Core identity shifting is the most advanced visualization practice there is. And in fact, it's something that really transcends techniques and practices altogether. So in this video, I want to show you as much as I can how to use core identity shifting to rapidly change your life, to upgrade your sense of self, to shift out of patterns that no longer serve you, and really to move closer to your ideal life in a much more efficient and powerful way. It is possible for anybody that's willing to go there. Quick word of warning though, this practice is not for the faint of heart. It requires courage, it requires boldness, and the willingness to leap into the unknown. And we're going to talk about why that is so powerful in this video, because I still see that a lot of people hold on to assumptions about using visualization that are just not very helpful, and where the true power of these techniques just cannot come alive. So that's really what we're getting at here, is how do you activate the power of your imagination and use it for good in your life? Really see it as a superpower that can take you to any level of success, of freedom, of prosperity that you want. So here's the operative premise that I use when I practice visualization. The true power of imagination comes alive when you see beyond your limited self. So there's a direct correlation between your willingness to leap beyond yourself and the power of your consciousness, the power of your imagination. You see, most people go into visualization lugging around this solid, illusory sense of self. So we unconsciously assume that we are this thing in a body with thoughts and feelings and opinions and perceptions, and that there's this outer world. And the outer world is different from us, that our skin is the barrier that separates who we are from the outer world. When you get into the true power of visualization and you make this fundamental shift out of seeing yourself as separate into seeing yourself more or less as what I call a cosmic character, playing this fun game created by infinite intelligence. When you see yourself in that way, I'm not just talking about as a nice little thought. When you feel and experience your life that way, that is what opens you up to the power of your imagination. That's where the true potential of visualization comes alive. So this is what's not talked about very often. This is the kind of X factor in using visualization effectively. Core identity shifting is just the most advanced way to do this. You can still do this in kind of incremental ways, but if you really want to take a huge leap forward and have like a really efficient, just direct line to the life that you want, this is the way that you do it. Okay. The degree to which you believe you're a solid self will determine how much you are bound to the density of this physical world. I find this point to be absolutely fascinating. It's something that has dawned on me more and more as I've gone deeper into meditation, visualization, all these practices. To be very honest with you, I used to suffer a lot with depression. And one of the kind of hallmarks of the depression that I experienced was this kind of existential or spiritual angst where I felt like being human just kind of sucked. It was like, it felt just mundane. It felt limiting. It felt really slow. The physical world I was living in felt really sluggish. It's like, why do things have to move so slow here? If we're just truly light and energy, why can't we create things like fast? Why can't we have what we want and move into the ideal life that we want to experience quickly? Why isn't there more magic here? Everything just felt boring, like slow and mundane. And I don't know about you, but a lot of people on a spiritual journey, I think, experience that at some point. They just get really locked into this feeling of mundanity in relation to the physical world. But here's what I've noticed: the more willing you are to let go of your solid self, the more you align with the true magic of this universe, the more you merge with a quantum field and transcend your circumstances, your past, and really the physical world in general. And that's where you start to notice more and more like, wow, I truly am an infinite being, a cosmic character, playing this fun game of pretending to be human and limited and flawed and bound to these problems and circumstances for these few years that I have. But that's not really what's going on here. There's a lot more beneath the surface. And so when you use core identity shifting, you're willing to go there. You're willing to suspend all of your beliefs, suspend your opinions, what you think you know, all the evidence you've acquired in this life that supports your beliefs. You're willing to let all of that go and leap into just total uncertainty, into infinite newness and higher fields of consciousness within you. And you have access to that right now. This is not something that is only for like the privileged few. Like literally any human being who doesn't suffer from organic brain damage or uh, trauma that is irreversible in this life can do this. You absolutely have the ability in this moment to leap into higher frequencies of reality and merge with the quantum field that is designed into our human experience, into what I call our operating system. And it's really what separates us out from lower forms of consciousness is humans have the ability to choose to merge with the quantum field and to align with the power of their consciousness in a way that transcends the physical world. It's one of the most sacred attributes that we all possess. But the truth is, most people aren't willing to go there. Most people are deeply attached to their sense of self, their past, their beliefs, their opinions, and so on. So, core identity shifting is when you leap into a higher frequency of reality and you actually become the ideal version of yourself now. So, you're no longer just using imagination, like imagining yourself being this version of yourself now. You do away with the whole notion of imagination, you actually become it, and you're operating under the premise that linear time doesn't exist. There really is no past or future. It's just the eternal now. You are this cosmic character created by infinite intelligence. Infinite power is coursing through you. And the true nature of this reality is that it is a quantum field of infinite possibility, which means that all parallel realities exist with you now. Any imagined scenario that you want to experience in your life is already here, literally already here in the quantum field. You just can't see it yet because your five senses aren't refined enough to be able to ascertain that. But it does exist with you right now in the quantum field. So core identity shifting is the willingness to let go of all of the baggage, the evidence, the accumulation of your experiences in this life that give you a sense of this is me over here, and here's the outer world over here. You let all of that go and you leap into a higher frequency of reality. So what I've noticed when I do this is, first of all, it is scary at first. It's inevitable that you're going to experience fear, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in another slide. But I've noticed that when you actually do this, you want to expect it to be a little bit scary, or sometimes it's even terrifying. And that's why I say this is not for the faint of heart, because it can be very disorienting to the part of you, the ego construct that thinks it's real and that you are this solid sense of self. You have to be willing to suspend all that. And it is inherently disorienting, discombobulating to actually go there. So instead of just imagining it, though, you are actually it. You actually become it. That's the difference with core identity shifting. It's no longer just a technique or an imagined exercise. You actually are merging with the quantum field of infinite possibility, and you step into that character who is the ideal representation of what you want to be in this life. So, how do you know if you're doing it correctly? Well, you'll notice that exhilaration presents itself. And exhilaration is the combination of fear and excitement. As I mentioned, it's scary to do this because your brain is wired to keep you safe. And this is the opposite of safety. You're leaping into the uncertainty of who you really are and the true nature of this reality that you're living in, that it's infinite and that you are infinite. And to the part of you that is all about maintaining control and familiarity, that thing inside of you basically freaks out when it has this experience of witnessing you leaping beyond it, right? It's disorienting, but it's also very exciting. This is very much like riding a roller coaster or anything that you like willingly pay for that gives you a sense of thrill. You know, it's weird because some people love like watching horror movies or putting themselves in situations that provoke terror and, just extreme discomfort, climbing Mount Everest or going on like extreme adventures. It's very interesting that so many people are just seek out those kinds of experiences, or even using drugs or being addicted to sex or things that induce a high level of pleasure in life. Um, it feels very exciting. It's like it fills you with exhilaration, right? But the core exhilaration you can experience is to leap beyond your sense of self. And if you're willingly going to sign up for that, that's where the true power of imagination, of visualization comes alive. Okay. That once again, the truth is, most people just aren't willing to go there. They have a litany of defense mechanisms, excuses against this, and they would far prefer to stay stuck in what's comfortable and familiar rather than taking these huge leaps in their consciousness. Okay. Now, for me, I got to this place because I just got fed up with living a mundane life. I got fed up with being locked into my circumstances. I got to a place where I was like, you know what? I don't care what it takes. There has to be another way. There just has to be a way to transcend the mundanity of this physical world and really leap into the magic and excitement that I know this existence has in store for me, you know? To get there, though, you have to be willing to go through fear and even terror, like existential anxiety. And I know this isn't talked about very much, and it doesn't sound as sexy as, just, hey, visualize it and whatever you want will come. But the true power, once again, of these techniques comes alive when you're willing to look at your fear of who you think you are and hang out in that and just keep going anyway. So it's interesting. I used to be an acupuncturist, and in Chinese medicine, this is all based on the water element. Your spiritual potential is in your kidneys in Chinese medicine, and your kidneys are all about fear and anxiety and courage. And like there's a virtue inside of each element and a neurosis. And the neurosis of the water element is that you cling to fear, the fear of who you think you are and your self image. Courage is what activates your spiritual potential. And that's the willingness to suspend your idea, your fixed sense of self, and leap into the unknown. So if you have a really strong water element, strong kidneys, you're more likely to do this. If your adrenal function, your kidney function is kind of weak, most likely it's just not going to happen. You need to have a strong nervous system and a strong kind of anchor, a foundation inside of you to take these leaps. Okay. And that to me really can come through practice, through using your imagination to develop yourself, to get stronger, to get more balanced in who you are. And then, like I said, you can do this kind of incrementally, but then you'll notice you take these huge leaps sometimes. And that's when you're using core identity shifting. It's like, I'm not just imagining this, I actually am this right now. So let's use the example real quick here of creating more financial success. I mean, you can talk about anything, focus on anything you want, a relationship, health, and so on. But if you want to make more money in your life, well, you can shift your core identity to leap into the vibration of abundance. And you can do that right now. Not just imagine it, but actually become it. So if your normal sense of self has been wired to make $50,000 a year and you've been doing that for 20 years, then there's no doubt that your ego has gotten wrapped around that as your identity. And if you want to go from $50,000 to 500,000, like you want to 10x your income, then it is going to require a willingness to leap into the unknown, to suspend your fixed sense of self and create something brand new in your life. So hopefully it's starting to make sense to you why most people don't do this. Because most people can talk a good game and say like, well, yeah, of course I'd like to make 500,000 a year. But if they're accustomed to making 50,000 a year, they are going to have courage to leap beyond their sense of self and consider who they would be if they were making that kind of money. It would shake up their worldview. It would shake up their dogmas, their opinions, their beliefs around what's possible. So once again, you just have to be willing to go there. You have to be bold and courageous. And that's why a lot of people don't change their financial life or attract true love or, lose those extra 50 pounds, whatever it is. It's because even though it's painful and there's suffering involved in their current sense of self, the thought, the realization that they have to go beyond themselves and experience existential fear is just not very welcome in their experience. So if you're willing to go there and you're willing to kind of go through that little gateway of fear inside of yourself where your ego is witnessing its own death, essentially, on the other side of that is where your true power comes alive as a human being. Your kidney function gets way stronger. Your water element gets way more balanced. And that's where you can just take these incredible leaps in who you are. And things can move very quickly, okay? So these are the deeper implications of making the life changes that you want. It's not just about like visualize it and it'll come. You have to do the deeper spiritual work of creating the identity of the person that you want to be and facing the kind of primal fear that comes up when it comes to changing lifelong patterns a lot of the time, a self-image that has served you on many levels. So, like I said, I think that the main thing that gets people here is they just get fed up. They get fed up with their circumstances, and the thought of staying stuck where they are is just far more distasteful than the thought of leaping into what's new. That's really when you start to activate your true potential. You just get sick of mediocrity. You get sick of mundanity, and you're just ready for it. You're just ready to take that deeper spiritual leap. So that is core identity shifting. Now, once again, it's not really a practice per se. It's just more of a spontaneous leap you make in your consciousness that will happen quite naturally when you're ready for it. So if you're feeling confused about, well, how do I do this? It doesn't sound very practical. Just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, keep using your imagination, keep visualizing your ideal life, and just take these gentle steps of in a moment, flashing on emptiness, flashing on no self, flashing on the quantum field of infinite possibility, and allowing yourself to feel the fear that your brain might kick in as a result of that. It probably will, and being willing to hang out there. And if you can hang out in it for a few seconds, that's very powerful. And now over time, it does stabilize where you get more accustomed to it and it becomes easier to hang out in those higher frequencies because that disorientation, that feeling of terror or fear, it starts to go away. You just start to deal with it and it just becomes part of your new norm in a sense. Um, but what I've experienced is that fear is the only thing that is preventing you from living the life that you want. It's literally the only thing that is stopping you from being the person that you want to be, from attracting what you want. And the riddle, the cosmic irony of all of this, and the way that your human game here has been designed is that fear looks very, very real, very daunting, very unwanted, and we can base our whole life around not facing that particular fear. But once you actually go there and you confront that fear inside of yourself, it's cosmically humorous because you see, like, it's not even real. It's just energy. It's just an energy of, like, oh shit, I don't exist the way that I think I did. And that's really scary. And you have to be willing to face that energy and the newness of it. And it's just energy, though. It's just an energy that you can hang out in. And then what you realize is, as long as you're willing to go through that rite of passage, on the other side of that, it's all good. There's nothing to be scared of because creating your ideal life is awesome. Creating your ideal self is awesome. Holding on to limitations and baggage, not so awesome, not so great, right? So it's very interesting how we've been designed that the fear that we feel around leaping into higher versions of ourselves feels so damn real and compelling. But once you actually confront it, what you see is that it's just a big illusion. It's just energy that you get to experience and face and confront, and on the other side of that is the life that you're waiting for. So I hope these words are they kind of create a feeling of comfort for you as you navigate through these higher levels of consciousness. And I know, like, a lot of people aren't ready to go there, but if you are, this is kind of what you expect. And I consider myself, I guess, sort of a tour guide in helping you navigate to those higher frequencies because there's not a lot of information about how to do that. And this has really been the basis of my life over the past couple of years, is stabilizing these higher frequencies and then being able to communicate what that journey is like and helping you to do the same, because that's really what it means to be empowered and free and happy as a human, is the willingness to travel in your consciousness to higher frequencies and hang out there and stabilize them and become that person, right? That's really the human journey. And you're probably watching this if you've made it this far because you are ready for that. So be sure to subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content. And I'll be talking more about this for sure. So hit that subscribe button and also click the little bell notification there so you're notified when new videos come out. I'll be posting on a pretty regular basis because, like I said, I think there's a need for this kind of content as much as just, the typical new age manifestation, the secret stuff. I want to go a little bit deeper with you and really get to the essence of what it takes to change your life. Okay. So click the like button under this video if you found this helpful. share it with a friend, and be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I will connect with you in the next video. Thanks a lot.